Hi everyone, very excited to have George Caravanis here today. Does not need an introduction, but in my opinion, the leading town planner in the LMR and rezoning space at the moment, let alone many interesting developments that he's been putting through. George, exciting times. It's been just over a year now since the rezoning. Why don't we start just by recapping the criteria at the moment?
Yeah, so it's been about a year and a half, as you said, since we had the LMR introduced, which comprises uplifts of, if you're in the inner area, 22 metres, 2.2 to 1, outer area beyond 400 metres, 17.5 metres, 1.5 to 1. They were for traditionally FSRs of initially 0.75 or 1 to 1 and 3 stories. So significant uplifts. Plus, on top of that, your 30% affordable housing.
And are you seeing a lot of the development space take advantage of the 30% affordable housing bonus?
Yes, a lot of them are, even in the more affluent areas where we've seen a lot of these LMR DAs take place. There is probably more than 50% taking up to 30%.
Taking advantage of that. Yeah. Now, what we've also seen and hearing from a lot of agents in different areas is that there are certain areas in Sydney where things just don't stack up, even though that's been rezoned. Where are you seeing predominantly that these areas are working?
The majority of the activity that we've seen is eastern suburbs, Woollahra, Waverley, Randwick, of course, Lower North Shore, Mossman, North Sydney, up to Willoughby, Ku-ring-gai and Northern Beaches.
And Northern Beaches,
yes,
wow, okay.
Yeah. And also Canada Bay, Drummoyne, some of those areas. We haven't seen much in the fringe, in the outer fringe areas. Maybe because it doesn't stack up, and that's the sort of feedback that we've been getting.
Yeah, I spoke to a couple of agents recently out at Summerhill and Liverpool, and they were saying there's a bit of land banking going on, but with the cost of buying the land, cost of building, the market's just not there for resales at this point of time.
It seems that way, yes.
Yeah. There's different types of applications, and now I'm hearing about HDA sites and what have you, but could you take us quickly through that?
Yeah, so in terms of the LMR, there's two main pathways. One is a development application, your traditional route.
Your normal DA?
Yes, so you lodge a DA with the council. It can get approved by the council. If it doesn't, you can go to the court and it can get approved by the court. The second way is through an SSD pathway.
And what does that stand for?
State Significant Development.
Okay.
And that comprises, you need to have a capital investment value of 75 million plus.
And do you mean capital investment value of the land or the build?
The build.
The build,
yes.
Okay.
And you need to have affordable housing, and that is submitted through and determined by the department.
So affordable housing is part of that submission?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
The other pathway is a HDA, a Housing Delivery Authority. That's a recent pathway that's been introduced by the Minister, and that is where you'd need a 60 million capital investment value.
Yes.
The other trigger is delivery of 100 dwellings. So
Wow.
you'll need a considerable site in order to provide that target number of dwellings.
So does that mean, and I'm asking also from a personal perspective in my street where I know there's an amalgamation taking place, so irrespective of whether you're R3 or not, if you've got an R1 or an R2 zoning, does the HGA play a part in that as well?
So through the HDA pathway, you can do a rezoning.
Oh, you can, okay.
You can do a rezoning, so you can combine a rezoning as part of your application. So it can be on those particular zones. There's some council areas that the HDA is not progressing
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
For example, the Woollahra local government area.
Yes.
We all know about the Woollahra train station. Not much about it, but we know about it.
Yes. Do you want to speculate on that, or is it too early?
I will in a moment.
Okay.
So because of
Nearly got him.
because of the Woollahra train station, Woollahra or the department is not accepting HDAs for the Woollahra local government area.
Okay.
Because they're anticipating the delivery of 10,000 dwellings.
Okay.
Through that
Good
other
insight.
process.
Yeah.
But it is happening in other council areas.
Yes.
Waverley, any number of other areas, inner or out of Sydney. We're actually doing one in Katoomba right now.
So, for example, in Katoomba?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So, I live in a street in the eastern suburbs. I'm in, say, Waverley Council catchment area, and someone amalgamates 4 blocks of apartments, X amount of metres, technically, let's say it's over what, 2,000, 2,500 metres of buildable area,
Yep.
that could be submitted for a HDA.
It could be on the basis that you get 100 dwellings on there. And that
Okay.
might be a bit tough getting 100 dwellings. So
On that
with,
size,
with a
yeah.
site of about 2,000 square metres, we're normally getting your larger dwellings of, let's say, 30, 40, 50 dwellings on there.
Okay.
Of your 2 and 3 larger apartments, which is the market for the eastern suburbs.
Yes.
If you do smaller apartments, you might shoehorn them in,
Yes.
but it is quite tight. So you need a bigger area for a HDA.
Okay. But could happen,
It
such
can happen,
as
yes.
one in Bronte recently.
Absolutely, yes, yes.
Okay, great, good feedback. In terms of clarifying the criteria, there was a lot of grey area very early on. Has some of that now come through and is it a little bit more transparent?
There has been some more clarity now with the number of DAs that have gone through both councils and importantly the courts. And
No, you just said that have gone through, so there's been some approvals.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so
yes.
this is real, this
Yes,
isn't
yes.
speculation anymore.
And I'll go through some of them that have been approved and how they have been approved. And the department itself has also changed or fine-tuned the legislation to provide a little bit more clarity. And I'll just give you 2 or 3 examples. One is we know that the 30% affordable housing can be applied to the LMR over and above the LMR. No issue about that. Other things we weren't sure about was if you have a site, let's say call it 1,000 square metres, and only a small corner of it is within that 400 metre distance, the whole site benefits from
Wow.
the LMR.
So you've got a site, only part of it falls into the 400, the whole site gets the benefit.
Correct. So there's
Okay.
clarity with that. The other important consideration is if you have a number of sites, let's say 5, and they're all separately titled, if only one of them gets within that 400, let's say, and you lodge an application for all 5 take that benefit of that LMR
Upside.
400.
Yeah,
the upside.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got HDA, LMR, and then there's a third one there that I've gone blank on.
The DA, the
Yes,
DA first
okay.
pathway.
Okay.
The
So I'm guessing courts have been very busy.
courts have been very busy. We've been keeping the courts very busy. In answer to your earlier question about what the councils have been doing or whether they have been approving them, initially they didn't want to.
Yes.
There was a lot of resistance from most councils. They've seen now that, or at least they've accepted that the horse is bolted.
Yes.
Given the number of applications that have been submitted, the majority of those have gone to court. The council politically, or the councils, didn't want to make that decision.
Yeah.
The courts have been supporting them, whether it's through a negotiation, a conciliation process, or through a hearing. There have been some of DA's funding through. And because of that, now the councils are supporting them as well.
Okay.
So you have some DAs coming through councils as well.
And are they implementing any criteria in their local environment, in their LEPs? Or?
Yes, they are. So what they're doing now is that they've reluctantly embraced the LMR in a way where they're actually preparing new development control plans.
Wow.
Where they're trying to provide a little bit more control over
Yes.
this animal
Yes.
that they see as the
Yes.
LMR.
Yes. Really interesting. There's a time to speculate about Wallara rezoning yet? Or?
Yeah, so in terms of Wallara rezoning, I know zero beyond what's been provided by the media, and that is basically that they're hoping to deliver 10,000 dwellings in Wallara Edgecliff.
Yes.
As to where it's going to go, how it's going to happen,
How high? Yeah.
all those,
Yeah.
that is speculation. We all know Wallara, we know how precious Wallara is. If someone was to ask me some years ago, would it happen in Wallara, I'd say categorically no.
Yeah.
But
Mind you, we could have said that about LMR and Double Bay and Rose Bay as well. Yeah.
But as far as I know, something will happen and something substantial will happen.
It's really interesting to see how it's not just in the eastern suburbs, being our main core area of selling, as you've identified, even the northern beaches.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's going. We're doing some DAs in Manly.
Yeah.
Even further beyond. So anywhere there is the land value that can translate that into some degree of profit, there is that activity.
It's interesting. I had a call from a friend the other day saying, "Oh, how's the family? How's your son going? What do you want him to be when he grows up?" I said, "Oh, maybe a builder."
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. Yeah.
Or a plumber or electrician. I think they're going to be the trades of the future.
And I just think it's just too late for us.
Yeah. No, my skill set's certainly not there. Now that is very informative. As you can see, so many moving parts. Things are now getting approved. As people say, the change has come through. It is very much going to be the next couple of years with a different building, very different communities in many ways. But you can see why you need a specialist like George on your team. So if you're a developer or thinking of putting a site together, I'll attach George's details at the end. George, I really, really appreciate your time. People can reach out to you if they've got some further questions.
Absolutely.
And it's been very informative to me, a little bit confusing still, but great information that we can share with the community out there. Thanks, mate.
It's my pleasure, Rick.